so that fearing to show up, witnesses not cooperating, and of course, let me just say lack of awareness. Some people just take it like it is just a normal case of assault. And so the way it is investigated, the way it is handled, we sometimes do not get to the bottom of the matter. So I don't know whether it is important at this time to talk about the measures or it will come at a later point. So some of the measures that we have put in place is that we are talking about the justice wheel. The justice wheel has got many actors, state actors, and also non-state actors. And it is high time we come together and each one of us plays our role. So let me mention that as I sit here, I head the Civil Rights Division at the ODPP, which deals with police accountability. And we don't act on our own. We act with the Witness Protection Agency. We act together with the IPOA. We act with Mr. Rotok here, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, to just make sure that we are moving together, we are moving in tandem. And we cannot move without the non-state actors, the people who give us the support system. People like IMLU, people like International Justice Mission, people like OHCHR, who give us those logistics. We have had a very important topic here about psychosocial health. You cannot have a witness who is broken down. It is so hard to have a witness who is not able to express what happened to them, or every time you want them to speak, you continue hurting them even more. So they have to heal first. But also our caregivers, also the people through whose hands these issues pass through, they also suffer mentally. As a prosecutor, I have handled some very, very traumatizing cases. I don't know whether I'm okay, but there is somebody who told us that their father used to drive a long-distance tractor. Long-distance trucks. And he did it all his life. And when he retired, alikuwa naletewa chai na flask. So they always made sure they put the flask on the right side. Because if it is on the left side, ataifanya hivi. Kama ile gear, because everybody thought he was normal, but now when he stops, he starts behaving abnormal. So we don't know whether some of these things will now manifest later. May God help us, all of us, you know. So I think those are some of the challenges we have, because even prosecutors need psychosocial support. Before you become, and I was just sharing with my brother there, the ED, and I was telling him, you know what? It wasn't. It was Anne. She has since left. That we used to have this government chemist, and I used to call him for our workshops and training. And every time he wants to give an example, he would laugh. He would laugh like you think he's lost it. Then he say, hey, this one is going to be funny. Then he tells you about this skeleton and what happened, and I'm like, it is so sad. But that is how people lose it, yeah? So you can imagine an example of our colleagues who are doing the Shakahola thing. They are not going to be normal if we don't give them that kind of support. So those are some of the challenges. We are embracing interagency collaboration. We are now in the process of sensitizing all our stakeholders on issues of this document we are talking about, that sample charge sheets, rapid reference guide, and all the other tools and documents that we have produced. And we are sensitizing all our key players around the country, and Mr. Rotok is very actively involved. We are working along with IPOA, we are working along with WPA. So those are some of the structures we are putting in place, and we are looking forward to even partnering in issues of proper training on matters of human rights. Because what we have right now is people who just have a rough idea of what is going on, but not really trained on these issues of police accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. And I think when we were just talking about the issue of prosecution, I remember last Friday when myself and Isabella were doing the Willy Kimani closeout, we were so shocked when the prosecutor said he was in court for 164 days of his life trying to get justice for Willy Kimani. So we appreciate the work that the ODPP is doing. So, Jackie, I would like to move to you. What are some of the proposed interventions you'd like?
Speedy response to some of the. You reduce the trauma and the number of days that a survivor has to go through the legal system. But above all that, I'm requesting also for the implementation either of the TGRC, as Elijah has said, or the operationalization of the Justice Restoration Fund that was announced in 2015 by His Excellency the President. That was a 10 billion fund. That was just the initial one, the initial amount that was proposed. If that had been put in place by now, a lot of the reparative needs of victims and survivors would have been met. And so my recommendation, in closing, would be that we initiate this discussion with the relevant authorities, and I speak this to Kiama or Peter. If we can start discussing this perhaps with Mary Wairagu and all the other relevant stakeholders to initiate to ensure that this is done now. We might not have had the same goodwill that we had with the other governments, but this might be the very government that might implement some of the things that we have long cried for. I look to Elijah, and forgive me, but I have to beat you on this one. The Kenya National Commission for Human Rights should be actually one of the key stakeholders in spearheading a lot of these things, but they have not stood with us. They have chosen, while I appreciate that you've been challenged, but they have really managed to be politically correct on a lot of things and not really advance the agenda of victims and survivors. And I'm surprised that they've worked with the Department of Justice, but on the issue of 2007-2008, that subject has largely been silent. Elijah, you don't have to answer me, it's not your fault. There's some things, of course, I appreciate that it's not you who says who says these things, but I must call it out that the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights should be on the forefront of spearheading some of these discussions, and especially when it comes to justice, when it comes to human rights, and when it comes to reparations for human rights violations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. And I would also want to go to Elijah. Elijah, I know you've talked about the optional reporting method. What are other regional and international platforms that we can use to report torture from a domestic level?
Thank you very much. One other protocol that we need to ratify as a country is the one on enforced disappearances. I would like to point out and say that our state has been very keen not to ratify some of these protocols that have those aspects of individual communication to, limit individuals from going to accessing these mechanisms directly. But if with advocacy we can have that one on enforced disappearances, we should also notify that as civil society organizations, we can caucus and draft a shadow report to the Committee Against Torture so that we bring out the real picture of how our country is like, so that when the state is saying we have done this, then we should have that alternative voice to now tell that committee that actually this is what we have, and this can be done by helping one another to collect concrete data on especially issues relating to torture. And also we form either consortia or groups where we can identify key partners that can help us achieve this by drafting these reports. We as a commission have an affiliate status to the regional mechanism, to the African Committee on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, and we also have that observer status, and we do also help other agencies come up with such reportings. This way we can be able to assist and ensure that there is some form of accountability from the part of the state in respect to the rights of freedom against torture, cruel and degrading treatment.
Thank you.
Sarah, I just want to ask also, and just to mention to Elijah that he's just mentioned that you sit on the rights to the child, that committee. Do you know that the children that were born from sexual violence in 2007, 2008, they are 16 years old this year. They are currently 15 years and they will be 16. They are teenagers. They use pads. They live through rejection. They are rejected by their families, by some of their communities, and some of their mothers. I invited last week on Monday on the International Day for the Elimination of Sexual Violence in Conflict. I invited the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights to participate in that conversation and to make comments on it, because 15 years down the line, those children, some of them, after a counseling session, one boy just asked, "So who is my father?" They have gone through extreme torture mentally. Some of them have gone through extreme physical torture because they are made to be cowherds in their communities because they're rejected by their families. Let that be something that is on the forefront of the discussions when it comes to torture. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. One last question. Of course, Tabitha has said some of the challenges they have with getting witnesses to be part of these torture cases. What strategies is the Witness Protection Agency employing in regards to creating awareness on the witness protection, creating awareness to the public to not fear but come through and get protection from witness protection? And of course, I know the audience would want to know how you've made these strategies to enable that when we go to court, the witnesses will appear and they will be protected.
Okay, thank you very much. I think some of the strategies which we have, which the agency has adopted, one is as the Madam Prosecutor has indicated, the issue of the pace of trial, and specifically to the victims, is a bit slow, and it comes across the various players. In court, there are so many various players. We have all the parties involved. So what was done, what the agency facilitated in 2015, the rules of court were gazetted. And those rules of court, some of the issues which are being addressed, it is the issue of the plight of the protected persons, and specifically the victims. So that is one way forward. The rules of court are still in place, although the pace of implementation may be a bit slow, but something is happening. In terms of the courts and how these witnesses appear in court, as I've indicated in my earlier talk, is that the Witness Protection Act, it gives the various protection measures which we put in place. Some of these measures, we have to go through the judicial process by acquiring or praying for protection orders from courts. And I wish to say that once we pray for those orders, they are almost granted. We don't have any challenge in terms of granting of those orders by courts. And we have used them successfully in terms of ensuring that the witnesses are not exposed during the hearings. And some of those measures include even the video conferencing and these virtual hearings, mostly for the victims. And we have some cases. We have quite a number of cases. I will not mention them, but we have done them very successfully through virtual hearings. And it has created confidence, a lot of confidence to the witnesses, and most of them are now coming forward. In fact, for the last 1.5 years, we have really achieved, in terms of the applications, they have been very high. In fact, even some of them is, they are being rejected, not because that they don't meet the qualifications or that. Maybe it is the stretching, because the program, what I mentioned here about the Witness Protection Program, it is quite a very, very expensive program. To support one person, it entails a lot of resources. You can imagine a situation, one person consuming around 3 million in a year, and the numbers, and we wanted, and the agents want to do it to do this protection based on the best international practices. And currently, what is going on, we are still arranging on the issues of the reciprocal arrangements, with countries which have similar witness protection programs and all that. It is still in the pipeline. Other things which we have done in terms of the agency, it has participated in, it has undertaken a critical role on the issue of law reform, including integrating witness protection issues in the sentencing policy 2023, which is awaiting gazettement, and the Children's Act of 2022. In addition to that, WIPE has also made proposals to include witness protection, special protection measures in the bail and board policy, plea-bargain policy, and diversion policy. The other one is in terms of the training of lawyers and paralegals across, and even coming up with some training modules, which we are working closely with the public, with the Office of the ODPP, the investigative agencies, and other stakeholders in terms of training on our mandate, and also training them in terms of how to handle these victims of crimes. Other issues include the participation in court users committee. We literally participate. You know, we are across 3 regions currently. We are in Mombasa, we are in Kisumu, we are in Nairobi. And those areas, the 3 areas I've mentioned, they are very wide in terms of their scope. If you check like Mombasa, it is covering the whole of coastal region, a part of eastern, and a part of northeastern. The same case with the name covering the whole of Central Province, the whole of eastern, a part of eastern, and northeastern. The same case with our office in Kisumu. So currently we have 3 offices: Nairobi, Kisumu, and Mombasa. And specifically for Nairobi, our offices are based at Milimani Law Courts. So Milimani Law Courts, room 413, that is where we have our liaison office. It is in third floor, 4th floor. Is it? No, it is, a moment, I've not gone there for some time. I have to, yeah, it is room 413. It is in, at least, it is 4th floor, It is number 413. It must be 4th floor. It must be 4th floor. Yes. So that is our liaison office. Why I'm saying that I've not gone there for some time, that is our liaison office. And you might only meet one person there, our liaison person. Otherwise, we operate in such a confidential environment that even not knowing exactly which floor, you can forget. Because the last time I went there, I think it is several years ago. But we have a way where we interact with our liaison office and the officers where we are. We are operational officers, us. So we are dealing with actual protection of witness, not theoretical, actual protection of witnesses and the victims. So those are some of the areas where we have managed. Currently we are doing a lot of sensitization programs in collaboration with other non-state actors like IMLU. They are very close to us in terms of these sensitization programs. ICJ, we are working very closely, and other CSOs, even paralegals. We work very closely with the Paralegal Society, whereby even some of the referrals, and specifically for those victims which are being given those pro bono services, we are working very closely with them so that we are able to assist in terms of that. So we can say that maybe we have not reached there in terms of public awareness, and that is why we are even asking more in terms of these kind of sessions, whereby we can be slotted. And we are very, very appreciative to IMLU, and specifically the Executive Director, Wada Peter, for inviting us so that we can share this and even bring it to board, that the government is doing something for the plight of the victims of crime. And we usually say one victim is much too many. So we want to reduce that one to 0 if possible. and to ensure that the various stakeholders who are involved on matters of criminal justice, that the victims or the plight of the victims of crimes are respected and their cases are expedited in the shortest time possible.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience as we close? You're going to take 4 because of time. And when you ask the question, you address to the person who you want the question to answer.
Shall begin with you, please?
Thank you very much. My name once more is Joshua Chuaema. My question goes to Elijah from the Kenya National Human Rights Commission. I think we should treat Kenya National Human Rights Commission like IPRA in the energy sector. Now, Kenya National Human Rights Commission is the body or the commission which is supposed to be actually fighting for some of the things we are asking here. What is the Kenya National Human Rights Commission doing? Because it is well funded by the government. It is even the one which is supposed to be questioning why some boards have not been funded, and if they have been funded, why are they not doing the thing? Could it be that you've been compromised at the expense of the common mwananchi? Thank you.
Question goes to witness protection. My name is Bilasia Wandera, Kariobangi Paralegal Network. There have been some cases or scenarios where you refer a victim for protection, but then the process is so litigious. Sometimes the victim impact assessment is undertaken, but then you find that the witness does not consider it as a serious case. I don't know, what parameters do you use when you are doing victim impact assessment? If you could highlight a bit so that the audience maybe can hear. And then ODPP, the standard guidelines for the prosecution of torture cases, madam. If it can be amplified, it will be better. I don't know what are the steps to amplify them, because as they are, since the trial was done and the launch, they are stuck. Kindly update us on the status of application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we take that question, you have a question here, then we shall come back to that table.
Thank you so much. My question goes to Jacqueline. I would just like to know, when you're doing these home visits, are you normally accompanied by psychologists who do the assessment and onboarding, and what model have you been putting in place in terms of ensuring that you document? We know that the Istanbul Protocol, the 2022 version, requests for a certain level of documentation, especially of cases of torture. So I'd just like to know how you do it, because that could be an area of close collaboration even with other CSOs in this particular room. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last question.
Okay, here you go. Okay, thank you so much. Naitwa Caleb Wanga from Usalama Reforms Forum. We are members of the Police Reforms Working Group. I think my question goes to my friend Elijah. The Commission some years back led us in a process of developing a national policy on business and human rights. We are in a country that slave trade is happening. Industrial area hapa. You find people working 24 hours without rest. What do you say about this? Because I think these are some of the things that needed to have been captured. It is torture. You go to economics, these economic zones, in Etwango EPZs, where you find women working without even mahali ya kukaa chini. Imagine standing for 8-9 hours. In this country, at this point in time in the world. Maybe some of your colleagues could help you answer this. And my question goes to the ODPP about public perception of that office. Because confidence towards that office and how it has conducted business sometimes back is not well. It's not well in the eyes of the public. And these are one of the reasons why a person might end up not even reporting cases of torture, because they know very well that the ODPP exists for the big people, and you have explained yourself very well of what sometimes you go through as an individual working in this office. How do you deal with public perception about the office of the DPP? I would have asked questions zingine, lakini wacha niwachie hapo.
Asante, thank you very much. Maybe your first question can go to the Commission, the second to the ODPP as described. Allow me, Madam Moderator, to invite our chief guest because she has a question. Then the members of the panel can distribute. Uliza swali kwa lugha ya Kiswahili ambayo ambako sawa nayo.
Habari zenu. Mimi ni mothers of victims and survivors. Kuna swali moja nauliza na ninauliza ODPP. Kwa nini kesi za masinani tukipeleka kwa DPP na siko na witness, siko na kila kitu, sinatupiliwa bali hasiendelei, na kesi zenye zinatoka kama Runda, kesi zenye watu wanajiweza, hizo zinaendelea, sasa zinatupiliwa bali. Hiyo ndio swali.
Thank you. I think the panel can take it away, then we close.
Elijah, start.
Asante. Niliuliza swali, tunafanyanga nini ku promote hii right to freedom against torture. Jambo la kwanza ni sheria hii ya prevention against torture imetupa kibali ya kwamba tuna monitor, tuna investigate, tunapokea habari, na pia tunahamasisha watu kuhusu kikao hiki. Not kikao, sheria hii. Sasa jambo la kwanza ni recommendation ambayo sisi binafsi tumetoa ni wakati serikali ilitutwika jukumu hii, tunasema kwamba functioning lazima iandamane na resources ambayo iwezeshe act hii kwe itekelezwe. Now tangu hivyo ukiangalia ripoti zetu kutoka tuundwe tangu 2002 tukiwa standing committee mpaka mwaka uliopita, utaona kwamba track ya budget zetu zimekuwa zikienda flat ama zinateremka. So jambo la kwanza ni hatujapewa nafasi kamilifu kuhakikisha kwamba act hii inakuwa operationalized vizuri. Ningependa kutoa mfano. Wakati unaposema to monitor torture nchini kote, inamaanisha tunapaswa kuingia kwa police station zote, tunapaswa kuingia katika prison zote, tunafaa kuingia katika hata kambi ya jeshi, mahali ambapo torture inafanyika. Pia tunafaa kuingia katika mashule, katika hospitali, mahali popote ambapo torture linafanyika. Access kwa mahali kama military imekuwa vigumu. Inachukuanga ujasiri wa afisa, baadhi ya maafisa wetu, ili waweze kuingia mle ndani. Na wakati mwingine hata sisi wengine tuna face threat, japo kwamba wewe ni afisa wa serikali, lakini kwa sababu ya kufuatilia kesi fulani inakuwa ni jambo vigumu. Pia sisi tuna kibali ya kureport internationally ya katika kamiti mbalimbali ambazo zinaangazia haki za binadamu katika nchi hii. Na kwa ripoti yetu tunaitoa kusema hali ya torture iko vipi. Pia tuna ripoti katika bunge kusema kutoka period hii hadi hii torture imekuwa vipi katika nchi hii. Sasa ningependa pia upige hii hesabu ambapo tunapaswa kujiuliza in terms of commitment ya serikali. Maafisa wa tume ya kutetea haki za binadamu ni 120 against rights za Wakenya milioni 50 na zaidi. Ukipewa kibali hicho wewe mwenyewe, ni nini ambacho ukiwaza utaweza kufanya hadi kiwango vipi? Ndio maana tunahitaji kikao kama hii ambayo imeandaliwa na IMLU, tunahitaji ODPP, tunahitaji watu wengi, hata wewe ambaye uko kule mashinani, ili tuweze kupokea hizi ripoti na tujue jinsi vipi tutaweza kushirikiana haswa katika area za advocacy. Swala la pili, tuliulizwa kuhusu business and human rights. Watu wengi ambao wanapitia a lot of torture haswa katika idara mbalimbali haswa za viwanda. Tuliweza kubuni a national policy ambayo inaitwa the National Policy on Business and Human Rights. Hii ni kuhakikisha kwamba kila biashara limeweza kuweka mikakati ili kuhakikisha kwamba haki za binadamu ziwe protected katika kiwanda hicho. Tunapokea malalamishi kila siku kutokana na kiwanda fulani ambacho kimekiuka haki, kimetesa watu, wengine wanapigwa na kadhalika, na tunafanya uchunguzi. Sasa kutokana na hii action plan, kila kiwanda, kila biashara ambayo iko na watu kiwango fulani wanapaswa kuweka mikakati kuhakikisha kwamba raia ama wafanyikazi haki zao zimeweza kulindwa. Kwa mfano, wahakikisha kwamba hali ya kazi, unapofanya kazi ambayo inaweza kukudhuru, kukuwe na protective gear. Wakati kuna malalamishi katika organization yako, kukuwe na complaints handling mechanism internally. Wakati pia kuna unyanyasaji wa kijinsia, kukuwe na sexual harassment policy ndani ya viwanda hivi, ili kuhakikisha kwamba mtu yoyote ambaye atatoa malalamishi anaweza kupata njia ambayo anaweza kusaidika. Katiba inasema mtu yoyote, any person has a right to complain to the commission whenever their right is violated or threatened or there is a threat to violation. So ningependa pia kuchukua nafasi hii kusema kwamba unapoona haki kimekiukwa, tafadhali njoo ripoti, tushirikiane ili tuweze kuchukua hatua. Tumeweza kuchukua watu mbele, kuzungumza na viwanda ili kuhakikisha kwamba wameweka mikakati hii, na mahali ambapo pameshindikana tumeweza kwenda kotini kwa niaba ya wale ambao wameathirika. Asante.
Asante sana. Kuna maswali ambayo yameulizwa kuhusu ofisi ya mashtaka, na swali la kwanza, na hii nitajibu kwa kimombo, ambaye mwenzangu hapo ameuliza maneno ya rapid reference guides and sample charge sheets za Prevention of Torture Act. Anasema hazijakuwa amplified. So by amplified, I want to believe you mean it is not disseminated or people are not aware. I hope we are together there. So the strategy that we have in place, and I mentioned when I first spoke, that we have engaged on a very comprehensive sensitization exercise. So we launched tools, and prevention of torture was just amongst them. We have case digest on police accountability. We have standard operating procedures on matters relating also to police accountability. And we are saying that all these documents, we want our state agencies to be to familiarize with them and to be able to use them more effectively and efficiently. We trained our officers on what we call training of trainers, TOTs. So we have a team of about 40 prosecutors, investigators, and human rights experts, and even witness protection, IPOA, who are now going around the country. We have done one sensitization exercise in North and South Rift. It was held within Nakuru County. And we are in the process of planning our second one. We are going to the Central Province region. And we want to do 6 of them. So it is an ongoing exercise. And we plan to have Nairobi and the environs as the last one. Because normally Nairobi is the first one to get everything. But the real problem is down huko kwa mashinani. So we've given the mashinani priority and we are reaching there. So we are, it is a collaborative exercise. It's just not the state agencies. It's also the non-state actors, because as I mentioned earlier, we are working very, very closely with IMLU, and my IMLU friend is smiling there, the beautiful smile. We are working with IMLU, we are working with IJM, and we are also working with OHCHR. And when we go to a region, we try to identify all the actors possible, a comprehensive framework of people who will have an impact in the criminal justice. So that is to answer that. There is another question, swali ya kwamba, how the DPP or DPP has been conducting business recently. They are not happy. You see, this is a very general question. So I don't know how to answer it. It is good to be very specific, because I don't know how business was conducted recently. But I know that this is a state agency. And a state agency has got a top person at the top there. But watu kama mimi, we are the technical people on the ground. I am here on duty, and there's no ODPP, there's no occupant of that position, isn't it? But work is going on. Are you saying that I've performed poorly today? Not at all. So the office is running well. I also want us to, just to bring you to speed, that we have our mandate under Article 157 of the Constitution, and I am not aware whether ODPP has violated any aspect of that article. But I can also say that in exercising our mandate, one, we have come up with some mechanisms to ensure that just the ends of justice are met, not just in the court corridors. One thing that we must know as human rights defenders and actors is that justice is not only found in the courtroom. The day we are familiar with that, then we will be now on the right track. That it is about justice. You have heard my sister talking here, that reparation is the beginning, is the door to healing, isn't it? If she insisted on justice, would she get healing? No, because if we have to go the criminal justice way and the court corridors, they will hit, at a rock. Okay, they will not move because they have no evidence. What the law requires is another journey. So let us learn to explore all the avenues of getting justice. In the Office of DPP has come up with various tools. One of them is alternatives to prosecution, and some of them include diversion. Si lazima tupigane kotini ndio mambo ndio tupate suluhisho, si ndio? So we have diversion, we have plea bargain. Let me just tell you that one thing that has happened recently, the Shakahola. We were watching news yesterday, and I wasn't very keen on the Shakahola because it's a very depressing thing. But I heard that one person has turned, one prospective accused person, one suspect, has turned into a witness. Now he is able to show them, kuna makaburi hapa, kuna makaburi hapa, and you know what? He can also tell you who those people are. He has a rough idea. Hii ilikuwa familia ya nani? That helps. So what if he also participated in the killing? Do you want to prosecute him, or do you want to turn him into a state witness? So that is where plea bargain comes in. So you see some of those techniques which were and the law is growing and changing rapidly. So we must learn to think outside the box. Last but not least, let me also say that let us not look at one single case and say that that office is bad. You know, you might have an accident one day, maybe you are coming here, ulikuwa umevaa suti mzuri sana, not a black one, maybe a very bright gray or some bright color, and somebody splashed something on you and you arrive here. Do we say, hey, so and so is, huyo ni mtu mchafu? So there are those stains are there, but that doesn't make the office bad. So I think we are ODPP is a very progressive office, and we are conducting business in accordance with the articles and our mandate under the Constitution. So my sister, mother of victims and survivors, who says that cases from Runda, I don't know what happens, but cases with witnesses from Mashinani, they are thrown out. I also find it very difficult to answer this question because it is a generalized question. When we had our survivors speaking here early in the morning, I was consulting with my brother, the ED there, and I was saying, can I get the details of those cases? So if there is anything stuck because of the office or DPP, then we can initiate the intervention. That's what I asked, isn't it? And I still believe I'll get those details. That is how we act. Because one of the reasons why we want to stop injustices is to stop doing a rounding up of people. If we say there is crime in Nairobi and we think they are young people, so we go to town and arrest everybody below the age of 30. Is that justice? So in the same breath, don't judge an office by saying cases are thrown out. Let us know which cases were thrown out and let us deal with them. Because I may not be able to know, madam, kama kesi yako ilitupwa, na uniambie details, na nione ni nini, what intervention tunaweza, ni hatua gani tunaweza kuchukua kurekebisha. Kuliko kusema kwamba cases from Runda. Personally, I have not handled any. The only case of Runda I've ever handled was an ambassador who was murdered wa Venezuela because it happened in Runda Estate. But it has gone on from 2012. We got a judgment just the other day. So and in the same breath, if you go to our courts, the High Court, Milimani, Makadara, Kibera, we are busy. Prosecutors, we have more than 1,000 prosecutors spread out the country. And cases inaendelea. And we are getting judgments and convictions. But let us not narrow down to some 1 or 2 high-profile cases, and then you say that office is conducting business badly. So thank you so much. I makofi zile tulikuwa tunaimba. Makofi.
Thank you. You will do makofi after everybody has spoken. I wanted to respond in this manner. Counseling only takes place usually when we are many. We do group counseling, and that is because when we are able to get all the survivors pamoja, mali pamoja. Otherwise, because they are so far, there are those wako deep in Busia, kuna wale in Kakamega that come from other places, wale Mount Elgon, Wasingishu, Solai, Nakuru, Kericho, Cheblite, Tea Factory, down Kericho Town, Governor's Camp, Naivasha, Nairobi, all of Nairobi, down in Mombasa. I'm talking about the survivors that I personally work with. Usually we have them when counseling, a counselor is present. Let me say a counselor is present whenever we have any forum. Hata kama ingekuwa tuko na forum kama hii and we had been invited. And so long as we are more than 5, we would have asked Kiama, tafadhali, ensure that there's a counselor present. Otherwise, the trauma is usually too much. And when we do home visits, usually the relationship that I've developed with them, please understand that I've worked with these women for 15 years. And in these 15 years, they have developed some form of trust in me. So I cannot take mtu wa kwenda kuadhiri or to go and re-traumatize them. But in the and usually I siendangi kusorora information because I know their stories. I can literally tell you the story from Mombasa, a story from Naivasha, a story from Nakuru, a story from Kericho, a story from Cheblait, a story from Busia, a story from Kisumu, a story from Moroni, a story from Mount Elgon, a story from Asni. I can give you details of what has happened to them and the children that were born from those violations. So I have developed a relationship of trust where I do not re-traumatize them. But definitely it is an area I would very willingly want to partner with you, because I am seeing vile mambo inaenda na vile tumeanza kushiriki na serikali. It is a place where when somebody starts opening up, you remember like one of our champions, ule aliongea, the survivor who spoke in the morning. How can you not shed tears? A counselor must be in the room, must be present at all times. And maybe that should be the standard when it comes to any form, any convening of either victims or survivors, that a standard operating procedure should be that a counselor must be present. I normally ask that of anybody whenever I'm doing any function. A counselor must be present and budgeted for. So it's something that it's a budgetary allocation that is put in it. And I welcome your suggestion and your partnership, Kapsa. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I can give my colleague to talk briefly on the victim impact statement, my colleague will answer that. I just want to give two comments. One, witness protection program is voluntary, and it is that is what the law says, that we cannot coerce a person to enter into witness protection program without her consent or his consent. And that is why before a witness comes into contact with us, in terms of management, it has to be, we have to sign something which we call memorandum of understanding, the do's and don'ts. Witness protection program is restrictive. Maybe you'll be denied some of the freedoms for the sake of your life. We are protecting life here, not anything else. We are protecting life, and when we are protecting life, there are some freedoms which we may surpass for the sake, a note, just for the sake of your life. So it is voluntary, and we don't force anyone to participate in it. That is why sometimes they will come in and somebody will just request the director to withdraw. And if that person writes the director to withdraw, the director does not have any alternative. We have to write to the referral authority, the DPP, or any other referral agent which has referred the matter to us, and we inform them of that, so that we don't keep someone against his or her wish. The other one is in terms of how long do you stay there? It depends. And that one goes back to the case itself, and it is under other players, whereby we don't control the court corridor, we don't control the work of the prosecutor, but the only thing which we request is kindly expedite. See how we can expedite these cases so that we don't create witness fatigue. Witness fatigue is, we have witnesses who have stayed for a very long period of time. Some of them is, it is like re-victimization. In terms of, they go to court, there are some adjournments because of some application raised by the various parties in court. And we say there are so many players in court. So sometimes the witness protection agents should not be seen as if they are pressing the justice cog. So I think I can, Madam Alice can talk briefly on the impact, on the victim impact statement.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll come back to you after the moderator closes that session, if that's okay. It's okay? Okay, thanks.
Okay, we are responding to a question that was asked earlier on. Though I was outside, but I'm made to believe that someone asked about our role in victim impact statements. So the Witness Protection Agency does not conduct the victim impact statements. But what we do is we conduct the risk assessments for purposes of getting persons into the witness protection program. But in terms of the victim impact statements, when we have a victim witness who needs to do that victim impact assessment, we normally work with the DPP, because under the Victim Protection Act, it is Section 12, provides that it's the role of the DPP, the prosecuting counsel, to facilitate the preparation of the victim impact statement in terms of the victims now. So for those who are in the program, we facilitate them to get in touch with the prosecuting counsel in that particular matter, so that they are also facilitated by the DPP to come up with to prepare the victim impact statement. Thank you.
Thank you. So a round of applause to our panelists. And Jackie and Tabitha want a special coffee, and I don't remember how it was being done. Coffee. 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 Thank you. Vivian, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Tuwapigie makofi wanapoketi chini. Thank you very much, Dr. Zachary, Jacqueline from Grace Agenda, our moderator from IMLU, Elijah from the Commission, asante sana, and of course the ODPP Tabitha Uya, asante sana. Thank you very much for your time, for giving us, for answering all the questions, including those that were general, and also ensuring that we engage in the conversation. 1, 2. I think now I'll use this. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tuko pamoja? I believe that we still have energy. Our chief guest, asanteni sana kwa kuvumilia na kungojea. Lakini natumai ya kwamba mvumili, mumesikiza, mumefurahia yote ambayo mumeelewa, mumejua ya kwamba kuna sheria ambayo inaweza kuwakinga na kuna watu ambao wanawapenda na wanawaelewa. Asanteni sana for that, and also keeping awake and ensuring that we engage in the conversation through questions and answers. Our colleagues from the CSO, thank you very much. We appreciate you for also ensuring that you whisper to us around some areas, even of questions that, and also of partnership you'll want us to do later. However, I wouldn't do the vote of thanks session very well, because we have a designated person to do that from IMLU, that is the head of programs, who will come in. I was your moderator for the day. My name is Vivian Mwende. I appreciate your time, I appreciate your attention, and for every panelist who has been here and every moderator who has been here, asanteni sana. Tuwapige makofi. Thank you very much. Right at this moment, I wish to state as follows. 1, we'll invite the head of programs from IMLU to take us through the vote of thanks session. Then lastly, we shall have Mugacho, together with the team of communications team, also led by Sarah, to take us through the group photo session. Either we could do it from here, but I'm sure Sarah is best placed with that technique to ensure we are taken very nicely. So that if I am yellow, I appear yellow. If I am black, I appear black. So that is not my area. Sarah will do that very well. For now, the head of programs, IMLU. Karibu sana, Joseph Munyao, tumpige makofi. Anapofika. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Vivian. Good evening, comrades. My name is Joseph, as you have heard. I'm the head of programs in IMLU. And let me say this on behalf of IMLU. It is indeed my pleasure to make these closing remarks and express gratitude to all of you who have made this event a reality. To our guest speaker, who I guess he has left, I want to appreciate him in absentia because he has been able to give a very good speech for this event. I would like to thank the Victims Protection Board, CEO Mary Wairuga, representatives from ODPP, WPA, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, AG's Office, Kenya Trust Fund for Victims, Grace and Gender, Greco, Missing Voices, FIDA, Katiba Institute, other CSOs present, other development partners in the struggle, survivors, mothers of victims and survivors network, and all guests for attending this event today. It is my sincere duty to thank all of you, and I say asanteni sana. As we come to the close of the commemoration of the International Day in support of victims of torture today, I would like to remind all of us as human rights defenders and actors that it is our moral duty to support and stand for victims and survivors of torture to realize the end of torture in Kenya. The fight against torture needs all of us, and therefore let's all stand united against torture. Thank you so much, and may God continue blessing you all for the good work you do, and especially around this space. May I say aluta continua comrades. So thank you so much. Nawashukuru sana. I know it has really been a great day. It has been a long day since morning. We have been seated throughout, and so on behalf of IMLU, kindly feel appreciated, feel that you are part of the family, and so asanteni sana, and we wish you a great evening, so for the remaining hours of the day. So thank you so much, asanteni sana, and like I've said once and again, I feel appreciated. We really appreciate your time for being here today. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.